Hello, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Michael, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. This is the continuation of the stream on 11/30/2024. My internet has been spotty and going out. I went ahead and restarted my computer, so hopefully that fixes the problem we are having with the spotty connection. It looks to be working so far, so fingers crossed that everything works out. We can continue going for tonight. I was having fun. All right, let's let the Discord know that I think we're back. I think back live. I think we are all good. Okay, cool. Thank you guys for being patient and understanding during that period of troubleshooting. Very strange. But we are back, and we just completed 2.12, and I think I get to um, 2.13 and maybe to 2.14, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the Small Business Manager project. So 2.13 says exercise 2.12 asks you to implement the dunder mul for the vector class section of 2.3.3 to provide support for syntax vector times 3. Implement the rmul method to provide additional support for the syntax 3 times vector. Okay, so we need to do this. Let me copy this over. We'll do r 2.13 underscore key dot py. I'm gonna paste this into here. And then I'll copy over the prompt. Okay, perfect. So we have a vector class here with the initialization, and we have dunder mul here. Now we need to add in def dunder rmul. Was it? Which takes in self and some factor. Right? It's going to be a type int and a float. So the new vector, it's going to equal to the vector length of self. Cool. Then we'll say for index value in the range length of self. Right? New vector of index at index point is going to equal factor times self index. Right? And then return new vector. So I believe that this essentially does what we're looking. Ooh. What just happened? There we go. And then I want to go copy this. Jibbity. Yes, I'm back. Everything's looking good, Sam. Thanks for coming back, and thanks you for your patience. I appreciate it. Okay, so in this problem, we just had to implement this dunder rmul, right? I'm not sure what the issue was going on. I just restarted my laptop, and everything seemed to be working appropriately now. So maybe something started up in the background and was causing massive, maybe it's sort of like auto updating or something. No idea. Kind of annoying though. We were starting to build up the numbers on the stream. Now we got to restart. So hopefully we get some more people back in here. But thank you so much, Sam, for being here. Appreciate you, man. Okay, so we added in this dunder rmul method here to handle the inverse for when things are happening So the provided code snippets define rmul method which handles scalar multiplication factor. Customer class presumably named the vector. Rmul, this method implements the reflective multiplication, enabling multiplication where the scalar is on the left side of the operator. Except that the scalar factor comes first. Example usage. So optimization notes. If the vector class can initialize with a pre-filled list, you might use a list comprehension. Return vector x times factor for x in self. Okay. Programmer, I'm so sorry about the frame rate issues, but I appreciate you joining back, and that's awesome that you're here. So he says, "Hey Michael, thanks for sharing your journey. Is there a goal behind you learning Python?" Yeah, so I am a by my profession. I'm 25 years old. I have a degree from a state school in human biology and a minor in chemistry. I'm kind of the focus in the chemistry side of aspects of human biology on like a cellular level and chemical level, things like that was my focus. I really enjoyed science at the time, and I never really dove into programming when I was in college, and I kind of regret that. I really think that I should have learned this a long time ago. But it's never too late, and hopefully you think so too. It's never too late for anybody. Um, I'm just wanting to learn this new skill. Anyways, in my profession, I'm a formulation chemist, and throughout my day to day, I noticed some monotonous tasks that I thought, it'd be really nice if I had a computer to automate this, matrix calculation for me. A lot of times I have to take in a lot of different data points from various, parts numbers or different serums, different um, like ingredients, we'll say, for lack of a better word. I have to know what kind of testing concentrations they're at, and then predict like what kind of blend they would emit and what those values would be. And I have to do that by hand and with kind of like intuitive prediction via human. And I was wondering if I was like thinking like, I wonder if I can do that with a computer. And so that just kind of led me down this rabbit hole of learning CS50P, and then into reading just more books. I already read the Python Crash Course book on my channel, so if you're interested in seeing that, I have streams of me reading this entire part one on my channel. The part two is just some additional projects to help solidify some concepts in third-party packages. But I read the entire part one and did all the in-text problems on the channel already. And then I am going back through and posting individual solution videos to the try-it-yourself problems from the text. And then I have some more textbooks here. Let me show you guys. I've got I've got Python machine learning that we're going to read on the channel. And then I've got Fluent Python that we're going to end up reading after this one, this data structures and algorithms book. I might, read this one on and off on the channel. It is fairly large, and I might, read it, on the train or on the bus or something here and there. But I haven't started it yet, but we'll get to that eventually. Just trying to transition into the more intermediate realms of Python. And yeah, so programmer says, that's awesome. I actually was going to start CS50 regular version, not P, to get foundations. Do you recommend it? I've heard of that book too. It seems like something I'll look into for Python. I have never taken the CS50 X course. I've taken the CS50P course and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fairly difficult, for a brand new beginner, someone that has never seen a line of code, never seen a for loop, is kind of out of school for a little bit. It was fairly challenging to kind of rework my brain back into thinking like a student again. But once I was able to get into that mindset and really grind myself through those problem sets through trial and error, it took me all summer to complete the course, from June to about August. And I learned a lot, and then I've just been making projects and doing independent studies. But I am going to be starting the CS50X course in 2025. So they are currently in their semester that they're in right now, their fall 2024 semester. They are recording new updated lectures for their CS50X course, their broad spectrum kind of programming course, I believe. Um, updated versions that they will be posting in 2025. So I'm going to be doing that course starting in 2025 and posting videos of me watching all the lectures, completing all the sets and stuff on the channel. So if that's something you're interested in, follow along. And you want to do that with me, maybe wait until I do that as well, or you can dive into it now, or maybe dive into CS50P right now so that you can get that out of the way. But on my Discord, I provide step-by-step instructions of how to get started with CS50P, how to sign up for EDX, and then I'm also going to provide. I'm going to make, I think, through some requests, I'm going to make some uh, like private videos that are kind of solutions and hints towards the problem sets for the Discord members, just as kind of an incentive to be in the Discord. And it's completely free. There's no charge. It's just a incentive for people to come together. And I just announce my stream lives in there and everything, and we all just kind of hang out. So cool. If that's something that you're interested in, then feel free to follow along, programmer, or anyone else out there that's watching. All right. Programmer says, I'm a mechanical engineer and took an intro to CS class, but need to get back into since I'm tired of engineering. Hopefully all goes well with automating your job. That book I meant was for automating your life. Yeah, so Automate the Boring Stuff is another one of those books. I might read that eventually, but I've kind of gotten past rehashing the while loops and for loops. I enjoy learning about it over and again, but I'm kind of moving on to the point where I'm wanting to learn some new, harder concepts. That's why I'm diving into these other more advanced books here. So, anywho, that was 2.13 for implementing rmul. So now we just have the opposite syntax occurring. So now let's go ahead and implement R 2.14 key pi, and then let's put in this guy. So we have a kind of a calculus problem here, not calculus, but a summation problem, which is pretty interesting. We haven't seen one of these yet in the book. So cool. So what this is saying, I believe, is implement the dunder mul method for the vector class of section 2.3.3 so that the expression u times v returns a scalar that represents the dot product of the vectors, that is the sum of the sum of range d of length d from starting at index position 1. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to say, don't tell me the answer, but just further explain the prompt. Okay. Certainly, the prompt is asking you to implement a method, dunder mul, that enables multiplication of u times v, so vector u times vector v, of two vectors in a way that computes their dot product. What is the dot product? The dot product of two vectors, u and v, both of length d, is calculated as u times v equals the sum of, okay, so yeah, this problem here. This means that you multiply each corresponding pair of elements from the two vectors and then sum up all of those products. How this method should behave: input two vector objects of the same length, output a single scalar number that represents the dot product. When implementing mul, you'll iterate over the elements of both vectors simultaneously. Okay, so what it's saying is that we are going to multiply the vectors' index positions together and then return the sum of all of those values together, right? So I wish they had a whiteboard or something. Does anybody know if there's like a whiteboard mechanism on Mac that I can download, similar to like Paint? Programmer says, I took a class in college in 2021, but we'll look into Discord. Thanks. Awesome. Cool. Awesome. We'll look forward to seeing you there. So let's go ahead and take the vector class. Bring it over. So we need to find the dunder mul again. We need to re-implement dunder mul, but in this case, it takes in the object itself and then other, right? Now, it takes in the object itself and the other and another object, vector object, right? We assume that the vector object needs to be of int type of a class vector, right? Right, it needs to be a class vector. How do we do it? Is it class vector like that? I'm not sure. Whatever. We'll do the check later. So what we need to do is we need to say, we need to first have a placeholder for the new vector. So the new vector, right, is equal to a vector object in the length of the self, right? We need a resulting, a new vector is going to have blank placeholders for the place of self, right? We are going to, for index in range length of self, right? For the index value and the range length of self, and for index I wonder if we can do like this. For index and range length of self, and index underscore other in range length for index range length of other. So for index of self and range length of other, and then for the index of other and range length of other, or sorry, of self and then other, we want to we don't need to do this actually because we've already established if length of self not equal to length of other, we want to raise value error right? So then else we'll create a new vector for the index of self in the range, for index in the range of self, range length of self. We want to take the new vector at that index value is going to be equal to the self at that index value times the other at that index value, right? Then some new vector is equal to for equal to 0, and then we say for value in new vector value plus equals sum of new vector value, right? So what I did here was we are tasked with creating a dunder mul for the vector class that when multiplied together, you take every value at the index point in the list and you multiply it by the equivalent index value from the other vector list. So index 0 gets multiplied by index 0 of the other list. Now, if the lengths don't equal, right? That means we can't perform the multiplication, so that we can't do anything. We have to raise an error. Else, we're going to create a placeholder for our new vector that is equal to the length of the self, so that, and other in this case. And then we're going to take the index values of our self and save them. And then we are going to in our new vector, we're going to override the value of that index with the multiplication of self times other at that index, right? And then we're going to, the sum of the new vector is equal to 0, and then for value in new vector, we're going to sum new vector plus equal to value. So this essentially should return the what we're looking for. Your implementation has a good structure but can be improved for clarity and efficiency. Key points: dimensional check. The check if length of self is great and ensures the dot product is only performed. Okay, so we actually also need to return some new vector. Sorry. Let me print that here. Control C. Come on, mate. Use the dot product, but there's still opportunities. So ensure the vectors are the same length, which is critical for the dot value product. Accurate dot product calculation. The implementation correctly multiplies the correcting elements and sums them to compute the dot product. Areas for improvement. Unnecessary vector creation. Creating new vector is redundant since the dot product only requires a scalar result. You can directly compute the product of the corresponding element without storing them in a temporary vector. That's interesting. So we actually didn't need to create a dummy vector. We could just say okay, so a single loop suffices to multiply corresponding elements and sum them on the fly. Okay, so let's try to refactor this down then. So if we don't need this, I'm gonna see just the beginning. So if length of self, so dot product equals 0. So let's try this one more time then. So the dot product is equal to 0. Okay, so for index in range length of self, right? I think we still need that. We want to for index and range length of self dot product plus equals, you got the for the index. Okay, so you can just do dot product is equal plus equal to self times index at the index times other at the index, right? Interesting. So now that we can get rid of all of this and then just return dot product. Okay, so what we've done differently now is we didn't have to create a temporary answer, um, vector and then sum that up separately. We can just combine that into one for loop by saying, okay, the dot product starts here. We're going to add to the dot product the multiplication that happens here, and then just return the dot product. Just completely bypassing the need for, quote, new underscore vector or product vector, pretty much. So if we copy this over, cool, like that. Okay, does that make sense to everybody out there who's watching? All right. Okay, we have one more problem that uses this vector stuff, so let's do this. I know we've been working on this for a long time, about an hour and a half now. Yeah, 2 hours actually working on these problems. But this has been really good practice, like with getting this range length of self, learning about indexing into these lists, how to manipulate these products using. It's been really a lot of good practice here. So I am grateful that we took the time to work on this today. Okay, so the vector class. Long problem here. Okay. The vector class of section 2.3.3 provides a constructor that takes an integer d and produces a d-dimensional vector. Whoa, what's going on here? Okay. The vector class from section 2.3.3 provides a constructor that takes in an integer d, okay, and provides a d-dimensional vector with all coordinates equal to 0. Okay, so it takes in a value d and creates a vector based on d. So if it takes in a value of 4, it creates a vector with 4 placeholders, all with 0. Okay? Another convenient form for creating a new vector would be to send the constructor a parameter that is some iterable type representing a sequence of numbers, and to create a vector with dimension equal to the length of that sequence and coordinates equal to the sequence values. For example, vector 475 would produce a three-dimensional vector with coordinates 475. Modify the constructor so that either of these forms is acceptable. That is, if a single integer is sent, it produces a vector of that dimension with all zeros. But if a sequence of numbers is provided, it produces a vector with coordinates based on that sequence. Okay, this doesn't seem that hard, actually. So it's just wanting us to say that when we construct our vector with the initialization, right here, the constructor happens. This didn't format right. Shoot. All right, so hold on. Sorry, guys. More. All right, is that it? That's it. Okay, cool. All right, so we need to take the initialization, right? And then we need to give it an optional parameter that can be provided as well in the form of a list. So this should be dot underscore chords. So what it wants us to do is be able to produce a vector which is producing these values. So this will have to be values. Okay, and this is of type list. No, but you don't want to make a list inside of there. So we need to, and then this can be set to none by default. So if values for, so we need to for index in if there are values, we need to take the length, range, length of index, of values. So we save the index of the values. And then we need to produce a vector so for if the user provides values, right, if they provide a list of values, we need to gather how many values there are. So we have indexes for each value in the length of the list. And then we need to create so this just creates a list based on 0 times the d. We need to create we need to produce we need to create a list. So actually we'll say this. If values, then we're going to do a list comprehension, right? We'll create a list. We're going to create a list. How can we do this with a list comprehension? Sorry if this is kind of annoying. I'm trying to work through this in my head via list comprehension rather than just kind of using a bunch of loops. So if there are values provided, we want to create a list for value in values, right? And what do we want to do to all those values in the values? Well, we want to put them in a list, and we want to self._cores is equal to value for value in values. So what's this saying is if there are values provided by the user, we're going to save them as a instance variable, self._chords, and create a list for value a list of the value for every value in values. I think that would work, right? We're not doing anything crazy to the individual values. We're not multiplying by them something, and we're just inserting each of them into a list, or just saving them as coordinates. All right, let's see. To fulfill the requirement, you need to adjust the constructor dunder init to handle two cases. Single integer argument, the vector will have d dimension with initial zeros, and single argument, sequence argument values. If a sequence of numbers is provided, the vector will use these values for its coordinates. You also need to fix the parameter list to handle both cases. The use of a default value like none is appropriate for values. Here's a corrected and enhanced implementation. Don't show me the answer. Instead, coach me through. Okay, so instead of showing me the answer, we're going to have just coach me through here. So let's work through steps. Understand the input. We want the constructor to behave differently based on the input. If given an integer, the constructor should create a vector of zeros with that many, right? So if given one of these, this has to be equal to none then as well. So values is equal to, so d has to be equal to be none as well if d, then do this, right? That states that. Okay. If given a sequence like a tuple or list, the constructor should use that sequence as a vector class coordinates. So this should be, okay. If values so what's this saying? Hey Beanbag, thanks for joining. I appreciate you leaving a comment and joining in. So what's this saying is it's saying that, right, the user, there's nothing saying here that values cannot be just a single integer as well. Or we need it to be a list or a tuple, a sequence. Handle the sequence class. So start with the integer case. If the input is an integer, how would you initialize a list of zeros with that length? What operation we can do this? Think about using 0 times d. Okay. So it wanted me to say huh. So it's actually, you can just go, what, list values. So if they provide values in the form of a list already, we already are listing them. So if values, if is instance values is tuple, right? So Yeah, so being back, right now we're solving this problem here, 2.15, where instead if the user can provide a value here, so we can say they can provide a value of none or they can provide a value of values, right? So if D, then we're going to go ahead and do this of type int, right? So right, we can say if the user provides a D, right? If they override this none and provide a D value, which is in the form of an integer, then we want to go ahead and make make a list of zeros multiplied by the amount of D's provided, factor of D. Else if the user provides elif values, so would we have to first check if values is given and then if values is in form of list none, or will this automatically return none because values wasn't provided with the instance? I think so. So elif is instance, we're going to check if the values given is in the form of a list or a tuple. If they are, we're going to append or just assign self._chords equal to the values, right? To that list or tuple. Else raise value error vector construct incorrect. Like so. Now let's try that. You're right on track. However, your implementation has a couple of issues to address. Key observations: confusion between D and values. You define two parameters, D and values, but the requirement suggests a single parameter that can be either an integer or a sequence. Oh, okay. Modify the constructor so either of these forms is acceptable. That is, a single integer send is produced a vector sequence. So it's saying that it wants us to handle it for one. Confusion between, you define two parameters, D and values, but the requirement suggests a single parameter that can be an integer or a sequence. Right now, the logic won't handle the case where only values is passed because D has default value of none. Right now, the logic won't handle the case where only values is passed because D has a default value of none. Interesting. So handling of sequences, when you assign values of self._chords, you're directly storing it as is. This works fine for tuples or lists, but for safety, you should convert it to a list to ensure consistency. The else block doesn't capture situations where D is none, but values is invalid, like if someone passes a string. So merge D and value. Okay, so it wants us to take D and values and create them into one, right? So values, right? We'll just say values here. And we'll say if values, right? If values, no, if is instance values in the form of int, right? We want to go ahead and um, self dot underscore chords, right? We'll just take self dot underscore chords is equal to list 0 times values. We'll just say input here, actually, to be more broad. Because values doesn't really make sense times 0. Input. Bring that down. Okay. Cool. So then if we, if is instance in the form of int, we're going to do that. Elif is instance input in the form of a tuple or a list, we want to self dot underscore chords list input, right? We'll just reconvert it to just be sure. Else that. So I think that might work. Let's try what it says here. Well done, your updated implementation is concise and correctly handles both cases, creating a vector of zeros for an integer and initializing a vector with a provided sequence for a list or tuple input. What works well? Integer handling. Using is-instance input int is a solid approach to check for integers and create a vector of zeros with 0 times the input value. Sequence handling. Checking if input is a tuple or a list and converting it to a list with a tuple with list input ensures flexibility and consistency. Error handling. Raising an error for invalid if input types is a good practice. Small enhancements to consider. Error message clarity. Input variable name. Input is a built-in Python function, so something about D or values. Okay, so because input's a reserved keyword, it doesn't want us to use that. So we'll say D or values, right? And we'll copy this, paste it here. Right, now we have no more inputs, right? If I highlight this, yeah, none of that comes up. Cool. Now, if we take this and copy it and put it in here, here's the task requirements. Cool. Great. That is the answer to this. So what we did was this seems pretty daunting. It's a long problem, but just stay with me here. It's just saying that right now the original constructor only provided the option to take in a value of D and then create a new vector with zeros for every value of D, for every spot of D, right? Now, that's fine, but it just wanted to create an option to, override that and provide a list or a tuple and then create a vector that's already, has values pre-established other than 0. So we have this if statement that does that initialization if it's in the form of that int using the is instance, right? If this value provided by the user is in the form of a single integer, then we're just going to create that based on the zeros, right? Based on the single integer. But if they provide a vector pretty much already, then we're just going to create that vector using those values. Else we'll raise an error saying we can't. It's in the incorrect format. And that is the answer to 215. So that is going to do it for those problems. For this, I think I'm going to stop there on working on this book. I'm going to just pop to the restroom real quick Pardon me. And then we will shift focus back over to the small business manager project that I've been working on. And we will give that another go and start designing how we want that to work. We worked on it yesterday for a little bit, but I will be right back. I'm going to just run to the restroom, and then we will be done. We'll move on to that. But that was it for chapter 2 for today. Does anybody have any general questions or problems they want us to go back on, um, and kind of reiterate out of the ones we worked on today, from 2.9 all the way to 2.15? Anybody have any ones that we would like to go back and get some more clarification on, or we think we're all good? I think that we should pretty straightforward. Feel free to ask in the chat if you want me to go back to any of the problems and we can give it another look. I'm just going to run to the bathroom real quick, and then we can dive right on into the small business manager here. Let's quit this guy. Cool. All right, guys, I'll be right back. If you guys are new to the stream, thank you so much for watching. My name is Michael. I try to stream as much as I can. I like to learn and study almost every day. If I can't, then I know I have a 9 to 5 and I can't get to it that day, but I like to learn, and it's pretty much one of my only hobbies is this and playing guitar and hanging out with my dog. So if this is something that you're interested in, the whole point of this channel is to teach myself programming, an additional skill that I can use in my profession, in my career as a chemist right now. And I'm learning through various methods, various books, and then like the one you saw with this PDF. And if that's something that is interesting you in the same situation, feel free to follow along, and I use this stream to communicate with you guys. I have a Discord link below with an outline of all the resources I've used personally thus far in my journey learning. And so if you are maybe wanting some guidance on where to start, or want to kind of not copy but just follow the same pathway, and it seems to be somewhat proficient as I'm gaining a lot of knowledge and I'm able to create some projects so far. So it seems to be working for the most part, this system I'm doing, just in general learning. But again, if that's something that interests you, please follow along. The channel is growing really fast right now, so it's really great that you guys are here early. We have just passed over 100 subs, and we're almost at 150 now, so things are really moving here, which is really, really exciting. I've been like on cloud 9 for the past couple of days because of it. It's just been kind of unbelievable, because I started this streams and I was just talking to myself for hours, and making these videos for 1 or 2 people to view, and then all of a sudden I've got 5, 10 people in here at a time, and then over the course of the whole stream, I had like 500 people stop in, so it gets pretty motivating to keep going. Hello, Argenis. Thank you so much for coming back in. Good to hear from you again. We just finished up the studying today on the Python data structures and algorithms in Python. We completed 2.9 all the way to 2.15. And then we're going to just shift focus here for a little bit back onto the small business manager app. But I'm just going to run to the bathroom real quick, so just give me 1 second. Let's unmute here. I forgot to unmute last time I did that, so let's make sure we remember to unmute this time. Let's give a quick check on the stream here on my phone, make sure everything's going good. What is the actual? I want to check on the score of the Oregon Duck game. Smashing them. Let's go. Oregon's winning. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and check on the stream real quick. Oh, we're at 150 subs, guys. Thank you so much for the subs. Woo! We gained 50 subs in like a whole day. That is insane. Think of that. That's 1/3 of my current sub count gained in one day. That is like insane. Nice, guys. Thank you so much. I feel like my audio is a little loud. I'm gonna turn it down. I'm sorry. I feel like I talk pretty loud. Please tell me if my audio is a little loud or not. I can turn it down or up. Give me some feedback, guys. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you so much for the subs, guys. That's so awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the Small Business Manager now. So we have a main function. Okay, so we have a couple of functions here we've established. We have, these are going to be like functions. Right, you know, operational functions. So these are operational functions, whereas the ones above are going to be like, not operational, but what would be a better word? Like these are going to be like the menus, the actual kind of flow, we'll say process functions, right? Now, I could take all these operational functions and put them in their own file to maybe clean things up and then import them into here. So maybe that'll be something we could do in the future, but for right now, I kind of want them in one place just so we can keep them streamlined here. So we have a function for creating a menu. And then so I need to actually say if is instance options in the form of a list or tuple, right? If it's in the form of a list or a tuple, then we can go ahead and do the following, right? We'll do the following. Else it's not. So we need to raise a value error here that says, please provide menu creation unsuccessful. Please provide var options in form as type list or tuple, right? So we'll wrap that so you can see it. So we learned from the book that we need to check, right, if the user provides options is in the form of an is instance. If it's in the form of the is instance provided in the list of a tuple, then we can go ahead and provide the menu. And then would we need to also check that prompt is in the form of string? This kind of obviously says that it's in the form of a string. So let's create a menu given a list or tuple of options for the display creates / displays a menu given a list or a tuple of options provided, right? Perfect. So now that handles that. So would we need to also create an is_instance check to make sure that prompt is in the form of a string? We do provide, the type hint of string here. So I'm not sure. What do you guys think? What do you guys suggest? All right, so we have that. So if we run this program now, we're launched into this. Let me go ahead and lower my font. Okay. So we have this now. This is giving us a prompt. We can press no, that will exit the system. We can enter, and then we can press 1, and that will run us into the run system, which does create menu, and then just runs main again after that, right? So we need to go somewhere from here. So where do we want to go? We want to go into the inventory tab. I first need to establish a globals list for all values So what if at the top here, right? Whoops, at the top here, we need to have a list for the following items. We need to have items, an empty list. We have for sale items is equal to an empty list and then we have sold items as an empty list. Now I will wrap all of this Can I not declare? Okay, hold on, like this. Okay, then we have all items is equal to a list of items for sale items and sold items. I could use a dict like Arginus said. All items, and then the keys would be the arrays. And then what would the values be? I could just have a list of lists, right? That way you could access them by name. So actually what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to have an individual function actually that's going to append all of the items into this list and create its own list with all of them. Items, for sale items with an empty list. Oh, got you. Okay, like I got you. So all items would be a dictionary, and in the dictionary we would have a first key of items, quote items, right? Which would, and then we have an empty list. We would have quote for sale items. And then we have sold items, like so. Okay, so now we have a dictionary of all items consisting of these list items, okay? Okay, so now what we need to do, thank you for that suggestion, Argenis. So now let's go ahead and focus on when we're in run system, we create this menu, inventory. So if user, so we need to get an input here. User input is going to be equal to the input function, right? If user input is equal to quote oh shoot. I wonder if I could save create menu as a variable. Right? And then user input equals. No, okay, so never mind. Inventory is going to be input 1. They don't have to type inventory. So it's 1. If user input is equal to 1, then that's the inventory. We want to run inventory function, right? Elif user input is equal to quote 2, we want to run transactions. Okay, so I'm going to move those way down because I don't want those here. So then we'll say we need to add in a while true here. Bring this all in, and then add an else statement here saying continue. We need to add in a third option here saying exit. And then elif user input is equal to quote 3 in this case, right? We're going to sys.exit the program. I'm going to actually prompt the user input again right here with an input function. I'm going to say, are you sure you want to quit? Right? And then what we're going to do is we'll add a /n here and here. And then we'll say, we actually will want to we actually can just create a menu here again and use the prompt would be, are you sure you want to quit? Right? Let's add back in those formattings. Are you sure you want to quit? And then in the after create menu, we want to gather user input one more time with an input here. And then if user, and then actually we need to say the options are a list, and the first option is going to be yes, and then the second option is going to be no. Right? So now if user input is equal to 1 in this case, we can sys.exit. Exit program, right? We need to insert save file method. Okay, right there. Whenever we say exit within the run system, we need to save, right? So that's where we'll put that. Insert save file here. Elif user input is equal to quote 2. Right? Then we want to break here. Are you sure you want to quit? We want to break, so that means we need to create a loop here. And then do we want to clear the terminal here, or do we want to stay in the menu? I think we want to clear terminal, right? If we'll clear terminal, we'll break. If they say, oh, 2, let's go back, and then we'll continue. Yeah, I am using a lot of user input to gather input. So what kind of function could I write? You could set that logic inside the create menu and return the input. Okay, let's try that. So in the create menu, in this instance, since creating menu, we'll always wait for the input. That's a smart idea. So inside the create menu, we want to then provide input, user input is equal to inputs function. And then we want to return user input. But I need to ensure that user input do I need to ensure that user input is an appropriate I need to check, right? I can't return, so I gather user input. If user input so we have index, enumerate options. So we have the index values. I could create an empty list and store all the index values. And then if the user input isn't in the index values, then so if is instance current prompt for index, we want to let's go up here and save indexes, right, is equal to an empty list. And then we'll say here is for index, we need to also index dot or indexes dot append the index that we have, and then that will do that. And then if user input not in indexes, right, if it's not in the indexes list, raise value error stating user input not user input outside option bounds. Else raise user input, right? Okay, let's catch up on some chat here. So it says, I see your create menu since you could write at the bottom, user input, return user input. If user input in range 1 to the length of options plus 1, I think this could work. If int user input range okay, yeah, so it'd have to be an int. So what you're saying is rather than saving indexes in its own list, you don't need to do that. You don't need to append indexes either. You can say if user input, if the int of user input is not, if the int of user input not in range of the length of the options of the options, which is a list, and then we need 0 plus 1 because we have to go increment by 1 because we're starting at 0. So if, right, what we said here, I kind of added a lot there, guys, so stay with me if you're following. All I said is that in the create menu, nothing's changing. We're taking in a prompt in the form of a string, and we're taking in options in the form of a list or a tuple. If the user provides the appropriate bounds, right, we create a menu which provides something like this, right? For every option that is provided, 1 yes was an option and 2 was an option, it provides the corresponding index value plus 1 to create this kind of menu effect. Now, we added, because after every menu creation, we always detect for user input. It was suggested by Argenis here, thank you so much, to insert the user input into the create menu function. So we went ahead and did that here. Now we needed to check hold on. So yeah, so range would start at 0 and it would go to the options plus 1. So we'd have to start if user input not in the range of 1, right? Because we always start at 1 to the length of options plus 1. So length of options would be 4. If options is we wouldn't need length of options plus 1 then, I don't think, right? It would not be length of options plus 1. It would be plus 1 out here because you go 1, length of options would be 4. If you provide 4 options, the length would be 4, so 1 to 4, meaning that it would be 1, 2, and 3, so 4 would not be counted, so we need to include 4 by putting plus 1 outside here. So we ask for the user's input, and we because we create this menu, we need to detect the user is going to insert 1 or 2 here. So we need to detect and make sure that the user can only insert, put in those values. So we say if we convert the user input obviously to an integer because we're typing in numbers, and if it's not in the range of 1, because we always start at value of 1 via this index value plus 1 here, all the way to the length of options plus 1, right? The length of if I give 2 options, so the length would then be 1, or it would be 2, right? And because lengths are 0 index, it would go from 0 to 0 and 1 for 2 values in a length. So we need to do length of options plus 1 to get 1, that last value of 2 included right here. So if we didn't do this, it wouldn't accept this 2 here. And so we'll raise the value error if it's not in that range, else we'll return the user input. I think that's right. What do you think, Argenis? Hello, Jimmy. Thanks so much for coming in and joining. I appreciate you coming in and leaving a comment. Thanks for joining me here. Feel free to follow along to the channel if you're interested in like studying Python alongside me here. I read a lot of textbooks, do a lot of individual things. Also, I would not raise an error in the input since that would finalize the program. Maybe consider asking again for the input or setting aside a while until the condition is valid. Okay, that's a good point too. So if it's not, we want to continue here, and then we need to say while true here, we're going to prompt the user for input. No, sorry. The while true will come when we display the menu. So while true here, print this menu. Right, we want to keep this value error here because the menu cannot be made, right? This will break the program. This is like if someone decides to, import create menu into their program, this needs to be here. But this part here, we want to keep looping. So we're right here, else for value user input, if user continue the while loop, and this will print again. So and then I want to say while true here, we want to gather the input, right? So we want to display the menu. So we display the menu here with a loop over and over again. Then we display I have the while loop here as well because I think I want to have the menu clear when this is displayed as well. So I don't want to have the repeating inputs. Okay, no, so let's actually remove the while loop here. Bring this back. we'll say while true, bring this back. While true, gather user input. If user input not in a range, we want to continue and then print right here, say, please select from one of the follow, please options. And then right here, we'll say, F like that. So if the user, I want to continue I want to print this I want this to display so if I put this above the continue, right, it'll quickly flash this and then move on to this. So how can I have this display how can I have this display right? So I create the menu and then I ask for the input in a while loop. If they don't provide an input that's accepted, it's going to print this and then immediately ask for input again without clearing the terminal though. Okay. So then let's come up here. I think that that's sufficient. So then let's come up here and we need to say main clear terminal. Yes, we don't need to ask for user input. So we have to save this as a variable. Temp variable. And then say if temp is equal to 1. If temp right? This would be like a temporary response or like a return value. Exactly, Argenis. But what I wouldn't want to use like temporary variable here. I would want to say like, could I just say like underscore, like this variable is never going to be used again, so I don't really care? Would that suffice? Is that Pythonic? What do you think? If I just say underscore, because I don't really care about this variable any outside of this while loop. So I feel like I can just, so I clear the system, I'll display the menu. Okay, so let me go ahead and then clear, no. Command, so if I enter this, open these, and then go yes, we get here. And if I go inventory, nothing happens. If I do 5, Pythonic TM. Am I confused in the long run? Okay, we'll say user input then. Jimmy, that's funny. Pythonic trademark. What's good, Vanch? Thanks so much for coming in. Good to hear from you again. Just working on this new project, small business manager. Okay, so we'll use user input rather. Okay. So now we have a little bit of bug here. This is just displaying the range object. Yeah, I need to update this one too, so I'll do that as well. So we'll clear terminal. This will be user input here. And then there we go. And this will be not there. This will be user input here and there. Yeah, Vanish, it's so crazy, right? We are at like 150, moving up like every day. Like in the past 2 days, we went up like 50 subs. So that's a third of the channel is increased by, a third over the course of 2 days. So rapid increases here. So crazy movement. Please select a valid option. Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. Please select a valid option. Okay. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run program. Now if we run and we press no, that exits appropriately. If we run and then we press 1, we get into here. Now we're into this menu. And we can go inventory and we get that error, so nothing. So that, okay, we need to go back actually. And then do, what happens if we select like 3? Please select a valid option. Okay, cool. And then press 1, then we press 5, please select a valid option. Awesome. Cool. Let's check the channel sub count right now. I can't stop checking it. It's so cool to see it grow. All right, we are at I think 150 still. Yeah, still at 150 here. So if you're watching, you're not following along. Follow along. We're growing the channel. We're getting the community bigger here, so that hopefully we can get the Discord going to where people are asking questions offline, about like CS50P or other stuff, and we can answer them all together. That'd be cool. Kind of like more like a personalized form. All right. All right. What time is it? It's 8:35. Okay. Okay, so now we've refactored this create menu to now make it easier on us. So now we have these transactions. Yeah, if I wanted to, I could just put the while loop at the top to reiterate the whole menu, but I don't want to do the whole menu because that will just stack over and over again, and then I'd have to clear the terminal over and over again, and I don't think I would be able to get this message because I'd be clearing the terminal. I could print this, then clear terminal, and then loop back, right? I could put it at the bottom. So I could say while, I could create menu, and then put the while loop right for here. The while loop would go right here. All this would go under. This would be done. This would come out. No, this would go under. Oh no, wait, hold up. What am I doing? It would have to go here. No, it'd have to go here. Like while true, right? We want to print this. And then we'd want to take this, put it here, right? Delete this. Break this. Oh no. Put this here. So if is instance please select eval, we could here we would clear terminal. Print and then continue. So then we would need to say \n here to create some spacing. And then we could return user input there, like that. Kiss Squad, thanks so much for leaving a comment. I appreciate you coming in here and leaving a message. That's so nice of you. Feel free to follow along so we can connect later on in the future. Yeah, so the return is inside the while loop here. So now what we did is we said while true, we print the prompt, you know, and then we ask for user input. If the user, we continue. Nice. So now what we can do is if we test this and we run, if we press 4 here, we get the prompt, we get please select a valid option at the top here, and then we get the message printed, continuing to print. Now what I could do is if I wanted to have this at the bottom, if I wanted to have it at the bottom, I could say, I could remove the loop, right? I could remove the loop and then just run the function again from here. But it doesn't really matter. Like I could say, instead of continue, I could say create, I could just run create menu again with the options in the prompt, with prompt and options again. And then print it after, right? Interesting. So like I could just say right here, our GenSD think I could say create menu. I could just run the function again, and then give it the prompt, the same prompt, and then the same options that was given earlier. And then I could print this, right? And I believe that that would essentially do the same thing, but give me the print at the bottom, and then I could remove this while loop completely. What about that? So I press 4. No, that's not working. It bypasses when you run the create menu. No, yeah, that's wrong. Because when you run this, it would bypass this automatically. That would create an infinite loop. Yeah, exactly. So let's go back. Wrong. It's okay. Cool. So that works fine. Return create menu. Oh, yeah, you could do that. Return create menu print. Okay, this is fine as it is. Okay, so now when we run this, if we give a prompt for every menu, right, it just gives us that until we give the appropriate one. Cool. All right, that was a good refactoring of the create menu to help us in the future. Now what we need to do is we have run inventory. So when we actually here as well, when we run main, we need to, if we run the system, when we run system, right, a part of run system at the very beginning here, we need to I just lost my train of thought so bad. Hello to everybody in here. If you're new, thanks so much for watching and tuning in to me. I appreciate it. I'm just studying Python independently. I've been learning for about 6 months, creating independent projects and reading, formal textbooks and online resources. If that sounds something interesting to you, feel free to follow along. The channel has been growing rapidly here over the course of the couple days. We've been picking up some steam, gaining support and followers, like-minded people coming together to learn. And yeah, feel free to join the Discord to gain access to all of the resources that I've used. I have it just published there for free, just as a way, kind of a conglomerate area for all my study resources to be in one area. So when we run the system, we need to insert file save method. So here we need to insert load file method here. So when we run the system, we need to read like a load file method here, and we need to have a save file method here for when we close. What else do we need? We run. Nothing. So I think that's probably our next step, is to work on this part here. So when we run this, this part here, so insert load file. So here we go. Create menu, clear terminal, def load file, right? So I'm gonna pull up my code from, task tracker. I want to pull my load file method from here. So we try to open as file. I'm going to copy this whole method here. Oop. Right, so here we go, load file, boom. Okay, so with load file, what we do is remove that, take this, bring it in one. Okay, so we try with open we're gonna make this inventory.csv in read mode, and we set the new line to blank, no new line, as a file. Okay, we next the reader to skip over the header, because I will have a header here. From here I need to import CSV, right? So we skip over the header, we have a switch here for rows flag found is false, right? It's a flag for detecting. For row in row in the reader, right? This returns like a Boolean statement, right? That means if we can do this, right? If we can search, iterate over rows and return values in the reader, then we can automatically set to rows found equal true. So try, and we'll set all of these bounds, right? So we need to set how do I want to go about this? I need to create 3 distinct files, right? I need to create 3 distinct files. The purpose of the rows found was when I implemented this, if I remember back, I needed a way to, like, I have pass here because I wasn't actually doing any raising any sort of thing. I was just creating objects. This just means that the file is empty, right? It's just like I guess it's not really needed, but if the file is empty and like there's no task, you could throw like a check here saying like, oh, the file is empty, basically. Like there is no rows found past the header. But I just have pass here because I don't really need to catch that check. So what we need to do is we need to try and create objects, right? We need to try and assign the corresponding values and then create the objects, the item objects. Now I'm going to have to do this individually for each, because I have items, for sale items, and sold items. So I need to differentiate them individually, right? So I would either have to have 3 distinct files, or there needs to be a parameter or an attribute within the class itself that can represent that it is a sold item. I think the easiest way to go about it would be to have 3 distinct files. So we're going to need to load, this will be load items file, right? So we're going to try to open items inventory underscore items .csv, right? As read mode. We're going to skip over the header because I'm going to have a header on this file, and then we're going to set this flag, and then we need to assign so this is items file. So then we're going to say load items file. Run system. So this is going to be load items file right here. Load for sale items file, and then load sold items file, right? So we'll have 3 distinct files for representing each of the classes that we have, right? How does that sound, Argenis? Do you guys agree with that? That way of going about it here? Why is this weird? What's going on here? What's going on here? Okay. We have 12 people in here. Thanks so much for tuning in. Feel free to follow the channel if this is something you're interested in. I'm just been streaming here for almost 4 hours so far. So we're just in the first 2 hours we went over the data structures and algorithms book. Been working on the chapter 2 reinforcement problems. Almost done with these. Going to move on to chapter 3 probably tomorrow. And then in the back half of the stream we work on my personal projects. So um, these three functions, when we run the system, right after we get past the main, which is just kind of like the check to actually load into the system, we load these three, we run these three functions, which pretty much read all the instances of our pre-existing items. So we have, and I chose to separate them into their each own individual files rather than one large file with NA or blank parameters, like none, for child classes that have no values associated with them in the parameter, in the attributes, if that makes any sense. So what we can do is, so we load items file. So we need to go down here. So we have items file here. So we'll try to open item inventory underscore items.csv as read mode as file. Skip over the header. We'll and so then we need to set try to set what are the instances here. So we have item name, cost of good. So item underscore name. Hey Cheese Slice, thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate you coming back and revisiting the channel here. It's good to hear from you. How you doing, man? All right, item name is equal to row 0. Then we have cost of good is the next one. I want to have the item number come first, though. I want to have that be displayed first. So item number is row 0. Then we have the item name come next after that into row 1. Into spot index 1 of that row. And then we have item name, item number, we have cost, I guess would be the next, or quantity. So item underscore quantity is equal to the third spot, or quantity. It's just quantity actually. Sorry. Item size will be, or well, I think size should be the third spot actually. So item size is here is equal to row in position 2. So quantity is equal to row in position 3. And then, so we have name, we have number, we have size, we have quantity, we need cost and date created. So item or cost of good, right, is equal to row position 5 or index 4 value, okay? And then this last one is going to be date created. Yeah, exactly, Argenis. So this is going to be date created, and this is going to be row position 5. Okay? So then, so we assign all these variables, and then what we need to do is quantity is going to be what? So quantity needs to be an int, right? Int item number is an int, and cost of good is a int. So cost of good is an int. An item number is an int. Yeah, exactly. I'll append it to those key values. Exactly. So we create. Okay, so then what we do is here we need to from item underscore class. Oh no. From item class import all, right? So then from here, what we need to do no import item, or we can just do all, I guess it's fine. So item where were we? Down here. So here we need to do item. We're going to create an item with the item name is equal to, or item number is equal to item number, right? And we'll just do all of these. Item name is equal to item name. Item size is equal to item size. Quantity is equal to quantity. Cost of good is equal to cost of good. And if you, so Argenis says it's a class at the end, so it should work. Exactly, that's what I'm doing right now. And then she says, can you have an array of, oh, there's a lot of messages I missed. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so he says, then I recommend creating an array at the beginning of, okay, then I recommend creating an array at the beginning of the load items function, then appending the objects as you creating them while reading the file and return it at the end. Okay. So what do you think it'd be more beneficial to, could I not just append, right? Can I not just append it to that dictionary list, key value list? So rather than creating another list inside of this function. So what I could do is, so we have cost of good. What else do we need? We need date created. It's equal to date created, right? like so. Cool. So then what we can do is we created that item. So item is equal to that. And then can we not just go like this and go global all items, right? We'll access all items. Or do I do all items here? We global all items at this point. Or I guess we could define this at the beginning. Right, we'll global all items at the beginning of this function. And then we will go all items. This is a dictionary dot all items, right? Dot append item, right? I think that's it. Oh, my dog barking. Hey, knock it off. She's barking. Okay, so and return it at the end. Then you could assign it to dictionary of the keys. You can even have an array of data. Can you even have an array of dynamic object type? It's a class, the answer worked. And if you keep the item in different files, then you could use the same function and set a parameter as the file name. That way you don't need to create a function for each type. Oh, that's a good idea too. I was just going to re-copy this function 3 times. That's a good idea, actually. I think the load function should not affect directly to the variable. However, if you want to use the items from dictionary after it's loaded, that I understand. So basically, our Genus says that we are directly, incorporating the all items global variable here and appending. We have a key called items in our all items dictionary, and that key has a value associated with that is a dictionary. That is a list. I'm sorry. And so we are appending every item that we create and we read on these rows to that list inside of that dictionary. Now, our Genus says he thinks the function should not affect directly the variable. I understand. Now, is there any downside to utilizing and affecting a global variable within this instance? So, okay, so let's just, while we're waiting for a response, let's move on. I think this works for now, but we'll just move on for now. So, except we get a value error, right? Meaning that this did not work. We could not append these values. There's nothing here. Invalidate it. We skipped a row. Great, so that gets skipped. If there's no data found in the file, it's a blank file, we just pass. I don't have any catch in here. However, it would be less dynamic. Okay. So then let's just go like this. Let's not global all items. Let's take this as items as a blank empty list here. And then let's just items. Right? Okay, like that. So we append the item that was created, and then we would go ahead and we need to then Also, since you're affecting a key, we need to map or create more functions to affect the other types of items that you would want to load. Exactly, because I was explicitly saying the key that I wanted to use, so I'd have to, deal with that. So let's just do this then. Let's append to this items list here, and then let's then not here actually, sorry, we need to outside of the for loop return no accept value error if not rows found, pass here return items, right there. Okay, so if there's no row found, we'll just pass over. We don't need a check here. This is just, like I said, a placeholder to say, if we ever wanted to say, oh, there are no rows found in the file, there are no, pre-existing tasks, then we can say that here, but we don't really need to. So except, right, so now we'll return the items list. So then with open we would need to say this would be type here. This would be in the form of a stir. So if we say type here with open, can we say F and then plug in type right here? Whoops. So F, and then this would be type, right? This would be loaded items, open type and read mode R. So if we want to open type and read mode R, next reader rows found, item number, no, because Argenis, if I try to make this more dynamic by having a parameter that can be loaded into here, right, for saying rather than load items file, just a load file with the items or for sale items or sold items as the parameter. If I do that, I have to, create based on the parameter. If parameter equals this amount equals a certain type, then I have to do that. So I really don't think it's, what do you think? You get what I'm trying to say is based on the type, these associated headers are going to change. Like these associated instance variables change, and a couple more get added on for the child classes. So what I need to just, it would just be NA, it'd be none. You get what I'm trying to say, man? I see. I thought the items would have the same type. No, so the only thing is, right, is the item. So item class has these attributes, whereas for sale item has two more unique attributes added onto it. and then the sold item class has 2 more unique attributes added onto it. So I would have to accompany that in here, and it would get pretty complex. So maybe I should just keep it as an individual. That you could maybe create functions to the item type and pass the row information and map it accordingly. Then you could maybe create functions to the type item and pass the row information. So you're saying if type is equal to item, right? Item only, item type, then assign these. If type is equal to, then you could run a function essentially, and one for each row call, a function that returns the item object created and append it. One function to load the file, and for each row call, a function that returns the item object created and append it. Yeah, so it would have to go here. So try if type is equal to quote, what are our types? Item. We can we can do this, right? Try if item is in type this, do that. Right? If type is equal to quote item, do that. If type is equal to quote for sale item, okay, Alfonso, what got you into program? Are you doing it for fun or school? I'm doing it for fun. I graduated college back in 2021, end of 2021, with a bachelor's of science in human biology and a minor in chemistry. And I currently work as a formulation chemist for a biotech company. And so I wanted to learn a program to learn new skills, continue challenging myself in my education, and as well as implement code into my current workflow. There is honestly any specific way to do it better. There is on there is honestly any specific way to do it better. Sometimes this thing to make it more dynamic could confuse. So you could do it your way, and abstract methods will come naturally in the future. It could just be confusing. No, I get what you're saying. No, totally. So if item type is equal to that, do this. If item type is equal for sale, um, so this would be load file rather. So loaded items, try to open type as file. So type .csv, right there as file, reader none. So if the type is equal to quote item, we want to set it to these, and then set item. This will be set item, set class item, And then we could have down here, let's do set class item. We'll define it. And then we'll say, we'll take all of this here, Command X, paste it here. So item number. Oh no, I don't actually. I'd have to call this those rows again. So maybe not. So load file. That. Okay, let's keep it like that then. We won't have this internal function. We'll say if type item, then we'll set it to these, and then if type equals for sale item, we want to take all of these and do the same thing, right? So if type is equal to for sale item, then we want to assign item number equal to int row, item number row 1, item row 5. So then what other attributes? This has sold price. Oh no, listing price, sorry. Listing price and date listed. So listing price is equal to row 6, position 6 index, and then date listed is equal to row position index 7, right? So that covers those two unique attributes, and then we need to add them to this. So listing price is equal to listing price, and if this is for sale item, this has to become for sale item here. So loaded items dot append item. So we added the listing price, and we need to add in. Here is the date listed is equal to date listed, right? So then we're going to take that item here, right? This is a for sale item dot append for sale item. So we'll append into loaded items. So I think I want to actually make this so if the type that the user gives is equal to a string quote item, we're going to set it to this. If it's equal to for sale item, we're going to set it to this, and loaded append to loaded items. And if type is equal to quote sold item, Then we want to we want to take all these same ones, right, from before. Item number, now here we need to add in, I think it's a sold price or price sold. Sold price is equal to row position in row index value 8, and then date sold is equal to row and index position 9. Date sold, yes. So then listing price, this is going to be an int listing price int Argenis says he needs to drop. It was fun today. Keep at it, man. You're doing great. Awesome, Argenis. Thanks for the kind words. I appreciate all your help today. Super helpful in providing feedback. Honestly, it was really great of you to join today, and have a great rest of your day. Good luck out there, man. Okay, so if type is equal to sold, right? Sold item, we have sold price, and then we need to add in these. So sold price is equal to sold price, and then we need to make this a sold item, so we can get access to those attributes. So sold item, sold price, and then date sold is equal to date sold here. And then we append return so then what would we want to return the loaded items list. Magically, thanks so much for coming in. I appreciate you leaving a comment. That's so nice of you. Yeah, this is a I teach myself Python independently through various online resources. I'm already graduated college. I'm no longer a student, and I am in the working field, and I want, maybe a change or to learn new skills. So I started to teach myself Python through various resources. Feel free to join the Discord to gain access to, or just to have a place where you can see all of those resources in one place. I have those outlined for you there. It's completely free. It's just community area for us to collaborate. And then yeah, feel free to follow along to the channel so we can continue learning together. So what we're doing here now, if so I want the user then to be able, I want to only use one function for load file. So I want to make the type, I want to say items equals none, right? Can I say quote items? No. Items is equal to none. So if I provide an items, and then we'll say for sale items is equal to none, and then we'll say sold items is equal to none. So they'll have default values, and then we'll say loaded items is going to equal a blank dictionary, with items, oops, loaded items, it's a list for sale items, list. And then, oh, whoops, sorry. Is a list, and then sold items is a empty list as well. Magically says, yeah, that's sick, man. I'm currently studying Java at school. I'm also trying to reteach myself HTML since I haven't used it in a while, so it's nice to see someone who's in the same position as me. Exactly. That's the whole purpose of this channel. I thought that maybe other people would find it motivating or reassuring to find someone else that's trying to grind away at this stuff, you know, in their free time. So we have this loaded items dictionary now. So if if items false, false, so we'll need these to be true, false. So if items, right, is true, then we want to go ahead and do this. If for sale items, right, if that is true, then do this. If sold items, if the user provides sold items, then do this. Now we want to go loaded items. Now we need to do loaded items. Loaded items with the key value of quote items dot append item. Okay, and then here would be loaded items key value for sale items dot append for sale item. Then if sold items, sold item equals the sold item, loaded items quote sold item dot append sold item. Cool. So that's exactly what Argenis was talking about earlier, is by creating these flags here, we can say that, okay, we want to run the load file on the only items, or on the only for sale items, or on the only sold items, or we can load all three, or we can load just these two, just these two, just these two, or any combination, right? Because we have these checks here to check if the user sets these values to true or not. So if they are set to true, we will load the file for the items. If this is set to true, we will load file for all for sale items. And if this is set to true, we will load file for all sold items. So, and then except if we can't read, we skip the row. We append it to this dictionary, and then we return, not items, we return loaded items. Right here, right? We return loaded items. This is just the pass. You can insert optional check for not this. This is just an optional piece of code if no rows are detected, right? If the file is empty with just a header, but we're just going to pass over it, meaning that it's a new file that was created, or the user previously made a file, and then it was just nothing was added to it in that creation. So we'll just pass over, and then we'll return loaded items. So except we don't find the file, we want to write, we want to with open f string, not here, we want to do not tasks, but the file would be So we also need to have yeah, Alfonso, I'm definitely not very good at debugging as I go, for sure. He suggested that I, debug, but the only thing is I don't have like, I can't really like run this until I kind of get it all set up because I'm running file loading, so it's kind of strange. So um, now we just need to figure out how we can label the file accordingly. Hmm. So we could go back to the type actually. We could go back to the type. I think that's what we're gonna have to do actually. So rather than having these flags, we'll have to keep type here, right? And then that goes here. This is gonna be quote items. Quote for sale items. Quote sold items, right? And then um, if type is equal to quote items, if type equal to quote for sale items, do the following. And if type is equal to quote sold items, do the following. So accept type.csv I don't want to print anything. So now we need to do this. So except file not found, we want to open type.csv, and then in write mode as file, we want to read the roll the writer as writer right row. If type is equal to items, quote items, right? Writer right row, the following items. We don't want to do this. This is going to be these ones up here. So right here. Take these guys, paste them here. Item number, that gets deleted, that's deleted, 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 and deleted. And then these get turned into quotes. with commas at the end. Quote, comma, quote, 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 comma, quote, quote, comma, quote, quote, comma, right? So if the type is equal to items, assign those. If type is equal to for sale items, right row for these, and we want to add in those two additional for sale ones, which is listing price and date listed, right? And we'll delete these here, like so. Quote, 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 and then we copy this one more time. If, whoops, if type is equal to sold items, right? Then a sold item, for sale item. If type equals for sale items. Oh no, items. Let's keep items. Okay. We need to add in sold items, these additional sold price and date sold. Let's go like this. Sold price, date sold, right? Cool. So what that does now is if the files aren't found, depending on the type provided, it will create a file type.csv, right? And then depending on the type, if the type is quote items, we're going to write row for all the items headers. If we're going to if the type is for sale, we're going to write row the headers for all the item for the for sale item headers, and then all the attributes. And then if the type is sold items, we're going to write the row for the header for the sold item type attributes. So now I think that works. I think that's it for this function, which is kind of crazy. It's a big freaking function, but it does everything we need. So let's just check over one more time. So we have loaded items with items as the key, for sale items as a key, and sold items as a key. Each of these has lists, right? We want to try and open the type provided.csv, right? So whatever, we'll try to open, we'll insert the type given, whether it's going to be these types, right? Now, how can I make this a list of items like this? Like, I can't even put a list here, like a preset amount. So we need to then say, actually, if type not in this tuple, right? If it's not in this tuple of quote items, quote for sale items, or quote sold items, then we want to raise value error and say raise attribute error and say quote attribute type not in the so raise an attribute error, attribute quote type attribute provided attribute no there's a parameter function quote load file needs parameter equal to items for sale items for sold items, right? So if the user does not provide a type that's appropriate, if the type is not in this tuple, then we raise the attribute error saying that the function load file needs parameter equal to load file function load file parameter, yeah, like that. Cool. So then, so the user will provide a file type, items.csv, and then we return. So okay, so all right. So then we create this dictionary with loaded items, right? And we have items, for sale items, and sold items. We try to open the type .csv in read mode. We skip over the header line, right? And then we move into the rows, right? If the type is in quote items, right, provided by the user, the attribute is in quote type items, we're gonna set these and append. We are going to read all of the values at these associated row indexes and save them as these variables. And then we are going to take these variables and create and generate our object using those variables and save it as an item. Then we're going to append that item to the list associated to the key value quote items found in the loaded items dictionary. So a lot of repeating the same words here, but it all kind of makes sense. So then the same things happen. So if the type is quote for sale items, we're going to read all of the values associated in the for sale items.csv, and we are going to read all of them and assign them to variables, and then create a for sale item object, and then append that to the loaded items for sale items key value list. And then the same thing happens if we have the type is quote sold items provided by the user, right? If the type is sold items, the item number, we're going to read all the, right? We're going to assign all of the sold item attributes to these variables, and then create the sold item object, and then add it and append it to the sold item in our loaded items dictionary. Except if we get a value or any one of those points, some sort of misconstrued data point, then we need to say that invalid data occurs skipping the row. If not rows found, this is just say like if the file was empty after the header, then we're just going to pass saying that the file was previously empty, and then we're going to return the loaded items that we found. that are in this dictionary here. Now, if the file isn't found, right? The file isn't found. If it wasn't previously generated, we need to print previous task list not found. We're not going to print anything. We're going to just we're going to open the type.csv, so items.csv or for sale items.csv or sold items.csv. In write mode, as file, we're going to use the writer on the file. If the type provided was in quote items, we're going to write the header row. If the type is for sale items, we're going to write the header row for the for sale items. And if the type is sold items, we're going to write the row for the for sale items. And that will create that blank file that can then have items added to it. So I believe that is it for that function. It's a lot of work. That was a lot of lines of code, almost like 100 lines in itself, which is really great. Over 100 lines in one function. I was not looking forward to writing this function. That's why I was delaying this, but today was the day. All right, we wrote it. Cool. So now what's happening here is we are going to load file, right? Instead of calling 3 separate functions, we can load file, and then we can do type is equal to quote sold or items, right? And then we will bring this down twice and load the file for all for sale items as well, and then all of the sold items as well, right? So now this one function has this optional parameter attribute, or this parameter that can be, selected from within our tuple to load these individual instances. So let's go ahead and see if this works now. So all in all, we don't have a file created. So what we should do is let's go ahead, I'm going to comment out this. So we don't have a file created. So this should, in theory, generate a file within our current folder directory. So let's go ahead and see how that would work. Let's go ahead and comment out this so we don't get any errors. Here, comment out that. Whatever, it's fine actually. Okay, let's go here and then let's run this. So if we press 1, this should generate a file with all the appropriate headers for the items.csv. Oh, look at that. Oh! Sorry about your ears. Oh my gosh, I just blew them out if you were listening on headphones. I apologize greatly, but we did it. We got it to load. That worked. Let me bring down my volume slightly. I think I'm talking pretty loud here, so sorry guys. Okay, so awesome. So now we have item name. Ooh, okay, so we have something's going on here. What's going on here? So items.csv, we're getting item number, name, and size aren't being differentiated. Why is that? So let's go to load file. Right row. Oh, okay, I'm missing a comma right here. Perfect. Missing one there as well. And then I'm probably missing one here as well. Did I miss that on my task tracker? No. It must have just got deleted somewhere. Okay. Cool. So let's go ahead and I will delete this file again. Right? So what's happening, guys, is it's hitting this exception. It's seeing that I don't have this file in my directory, and it's detecting what type I overrid or I selected within the function, and I right here, it's right here, load file. I did type quote items, so it's going to then detect that I did quote items for load file. And if I go back to my load file here, it's going to run. Sorry, it's going to detect file not found for items.csv, and so it's going to run this block of code right here. And if I run this function, run this program over again and press 1, as you can see, items.csv gets created right here in our directory, and item number, name, size, quantity, cost, and date created are all created in the file. Woo! That's so cool. Awesome. So we got that working. So now let's go ahead and make sure it's working for all of the files. So let's go ahead and uncomment out this. And then let's go ahead and run this one more time and run here. Boom. So now we are given items.csv, sold items.csv, and for sale items.csv. Woohoo! Oh, that is so cool. Oh, it gives you like a shot of dopamine when you get your code right. It's like pretty addicting. Let me know if you ever gotten that feeling. I get it all the time. Okay, cool. So now we have all of those being appropriately loaded into our directory. Now we need to then test if the reading mechanism is happening appropriately. So that is load file, and then we will have to do so if I say, let me say, if I take the items.csv file and item number, I give this a quote, or I just make this like a quote. Item number is going to be integer, so it'd be like 1. Item name is going to be quote, we'll say dress, right? Shoot. We'll say item size is going to be medium. Quantity is going to be, like, let's say we have 1, right? Cost is going to be, let's say like 10, right? And then date created is going to be like a quote, or quote 2024 11:30, like that. Let me go ahead and make sure that that's correct. Let me check my task tracker. Tasks due dates are not strings. Okay, dates are not strings in. Oh, you don't have strings. Okay, so like that. So then it's going to try to say item number is an integer, item name is a string, item size is a string, item quantity is an integer, cost is an integer, date created is a string. Yes, okay, perfect. So then date created is a string, listing price is integer, date created is a string, nice. So then date listed, sold price, needs to be an integer value, and then date sold is a string. Cool. So now if we go ahead now what I can do is I will say so loaded items, so load file, okay. We have load the files here, okay. And then we need to provide, how do I want to test it? I want to say, at this point, I want to print we'll do it right here. We'll do it right here. We'll say print. Edit load file. Okay, so if I want to load file, right, we have load file here. I want to print, let's print the, this returns, this is going to return a value. These are going to return values. So this is going to return a dictionary. Maybe I actually don't want to create the dictionary. So in my function here, I have load file. I don't think I want to create this dictionary and append. I think I just want to have these empty lists and return them. Yeah, because it's going to give me 3 separate dictionaries. So instead of that, I want to, we will return we will return okay, so actually we'll keep up at the top here, we will keep a loaded items, but instead of this, we'll have it just be an empty list. And then we will append loaded items dot append itself item. And then append there. And then dot append there. Hi, Captain Z Fear. Thanks for joining the chat. I appreciate you coming into the stream and leaving some messages. Thanks so much. Captain Z Fear said, I recommend using type annotations to make it easy to remember what types you're working with. Example, number int equals 5. Yeah, exactly. We have that in the class. Got you. Whenever you hover over the number in the ID, it will tell you the variable. Yes, gotcha. You can also use type annotations on function definitions so that it's easier to remember what data is returned. Def add a int b returns int. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So then, thank you for those recommendations. I appreciate that. So then here we append to there, and at the end we're going to return loaded items. So then up here, this is going to return a value. So we need to save this as found items is equal to this. Found for sale items, and then found sold items, right? And then we want to append those items. So found items, items dot. So we'll go all items, quote, items dot append like that. So then we will just copy this down twice. We'll do You don't need a variable actually. Delete that. Come here, copy this down. For all items, quote, for sale items dot append loadem for sale items, right? For all items, and this is a sold items dot append load file type sold items, like that. So now we will automatically append onto the key list. Maxim, thanks so much for leaving a comment. I appreciate you coming in. He says, or they say, it doesn't change your code at all, but you can save all of the items from CSV into a single variable, then unpack them using the asterisk in the class object. Saves you from writing all these lines of code. Looks very good if you're just a beginner. Yeah, exactly. Thanks so much. I appreciate those kind remarks. That's really nice of you to say. So you could say, you can save all of your items from the CSV into a single variable and then unpack them using the asterisk in the class object. Where would I implement that? I'm trying to think. So if I have all of these, I'm saving them, I'm appending them here to the loaded items list. If not found, so we return the loaded items list, and then unpack them into a single variable. Right, okay, so you're saying that right here I could unpack all of the items inside the while loop. You do row 1, etc. Yeah, right? I'm trying to understand where I would kind of work this in if I wanted to. Any suggestions? I don't have a while loop going on within here. It's not a while loop. It's a for loop. Is that what you meant? Right here? So what we have right now is we're just going, it's appending into this dictionary here, into these blank lists, into my all items. Okay, so what I can do is when I run system, it will append all those. You can say var equals row 1 and then for sale items. Oh, okay. So you're saying that here, no worries, Maxim. I appreciate your comments. I really do. I like all the help I can get and all the different perspectives. It helps to understand, Python as a whole even better. Just a different way to do the same thing. Okay, so I think what we got works though, so we'll just keep it for now. But that was a great way to think about it, right? If you can unpack all those values using that syntax, which is interesting. Okay, so now because we have a dummy item in our items.csv file, if we go ahead and run this program, it should automatically detect that. And I want to then print here, I want to print the item. Print all items. Yeah, we'll just print the all items dictionary, right? So this should show an item in the items tab right here, right? So if I run this program and I press 1 here, boom, exactly, we get that print. So items, dress is in there. And then the for sale items is an empty list right here. And then the sold items is an empty list. Woo, we are doing it, guys. This is so exciting. Oh, I love it when things are working out. So That was really quite impressive, though. I'm really quite proud of myself because we were able to implement this entire load file function, right? We did copy it over from my previous project tasks.csv. I had a similar function in this class method where I saved the file just very more minimally, but then I expanded this even further to having a switch indicator for these various uh, data points within this tuple. I have this switch indicator that the user can then override for specific reading of specific files. Now, I could even go even further and make this type I could provide, the user could provide as many types and then it could read them all as once, but it's just getting kind of redundant and this does its job, so I think we're good to move on right now. What do you guys think? Anyways, uh, cool. We have 10 concurrent viewers in here, so the channel is definitely growing. We're getting people to stick around and stay, and so I really appreciate you guys participating and wanting to learn. Hopefully, this is helping you guys in your own learning and understanding and solidifying these concepts, because that's the whole point of this for me. Is I want to even though I know about classes and stuff, I want to further practice and get these concepts down to where they're just second nature and almost like just like I'm speaking English, I'm speaking in Python. So that's the whole goal. And if you guys find that useful for yourself and watching along, that's the whole point of this. So thank you so much for your support. The channel really has been growing over the past couple days. We've gone from 100 subs 2 days ago to 151, and so it seems like if this is something that's interesting, it seems like it's working. We're at 156 subs now, guys. Thank you so much. This is so cool. Okay, so I will go ahead and remove this. I will go ahead and remove this print statement here so we can remove that. So great. Everything is working appropriately. All of our now I probably should do a test, right? Let me go ahead and open up I'll put that back actually. Let me open up sold items. I'm going to take my items values and I'm going to just bring them into here as dummy values again. So this would be listing price. So this would be like, let's just say 25. Date listed would be, let's just say the same date, 2024-11-30. And if you're wanting to know how I have this kind of color display going on, right? Although the formatting is strange within the columns don't exactly line up with their rows, you can see that the colors correspond to the row and columns appropriately. So the orange column is the fifth value in our set here. So this is just an extension called Rainbow CSV within VS Code that does this automatically. So really cool extension if you guys wanted to know how that was working. So we have a dummy sold item. No, we need actually, so let's copy this over because this will be perfect for the for sale item. Boom, that takes care of all those. So then sold item, we need a couple more attributes. Sold price would be 25. Let's say we sold it for what we listed it at, and the date sold would be, it looks like it starts to restart, but just uses bolds for the colors rather. Sold price would be, or date sold, we'll say we sold it today as well. Okay, so now we have dummy items in for every stage of we have it for the parent, and we have it for the two children classes. We have dummies. So now if I go ahead and run this program, we should see those items populate into these lists like we did with this item. So boom, let's run and enter. Boom, we get an item here, dress. We get an item in the for sale, and we get an item in the sold item, and everything is being read appropriately, right? So we have dress, cost of good 10, dress, so item, dress, cost of good, size equals, oh, something is going on here actually. So we have items, dress, 10, item size equals item What's this thing right here? What's going on right here? What is this? Do you guys see this? So we have the items, the items key. Inside the items key, we have an item dress, cost of good, and then it skips at size. So why does size create a new item here? Dress, cost of good 10. Why is size creating a new item? I don't understand what's going on here. Anybody have any ideas? Why? What's this weird syntax? So let's try this. Let's print not all items. Let's print all items with the items value tag here. Let's run that. So now we get this. So we get item. So this has the cost of good is 10. So this is what it should resemble right here. Item quantity is 1. Item size is medium. Quantity is 1. So why is item size screwing up and creating a new item object with dress? Oh, it doesn't like my spaces, I think. There's no spaces. You can't into space. Okay, so now if I run this program, this one, we get item size. Why are we still getting a size is equal to the object again? So something's going on with the size down here. So load file 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Item size is equal to item size why are we getting this item size is not reading as an object? So item number, item name, size, quantity, cost, get created. So I have the item size is right here. It's being assigned to the position index 3. Index 3, item size, right here, medium. Anyone have any ideas as to why this item size is not being read properly right here. Why is item size at row index value 2, 0, 1, 2 in the third position? Why is it not picking up this medium? It's nothing to do with the file not found. So am I assigning it appropriately? So item number is equal to item number, comma. Item name is equal to item name, comma. Item size is equal to item size. Type stir. Type int. Type int, yes. Type stir. So let me print. Let's see, print items. We want to print the items. What do we want to print? The item as an index of 0, 1, 2. So the third index. So we want to print the size. So now if you play this, boom. Oh, maybe we need that position 2, like that. So if items is a list, right? How can I print items at the index value of 2? I get an error. If all items is a dictionary and the key value items has a list associated with its value, how can I print the position of items 2? How to print the how can I print the if I say if I have a dict with a key that has a list as a value, how can I access an index of that value list? Access key. Items. Like that. Yeah. 2. All items has a list. We're out of range. We shouldn't be out of range. We should have items there. Oh, we don't have more than one item. So that's in accessing the individual item. Okay, so now if I want to access dot do I need to index again like that? That'd be crazy. No. So if I put 1 here, right, this will give me the single value in there, right? This will give me the item in the list, the 1. Ooh, whoops. right? This will give me that. But I don't know why why is item size having an object assigned to it? Why is item size not getting the appropriate sizing like the other ones are? It doesn't make any sense. So this accesses the so this is that list. Let me say, let's just go like a temp variable here. And if I say I want to take temp, I want to access the second index in temp, the third index. Sorry, print this. Out of range. So all items index 0 provides me this assigns the object. So I need to access temp dot the attribute, right? Item size, and print that. No attribute list object has no attribute item size. So this gives me back, if I just print temp, right, this just gives me back the single object, right? Exactly. Now, if I want to access that object, now this is a list. So temp is a list. So temp index 0 would give me the associated object in that list. So I'll override temp now. Now I'll print temp dot item size. Right? And now if I run this, what? I don't even have a print statement. Okay, that is what's coming up as the item size. Why is item size being saved as that? Do I have something going on here? Item size is equal to super. So item size is equal to self. Ah, this is what's going on. Something happened here. What the heck is this? What? Why is this here? It's not equal to self itself and the item size. Who put this here? I didn't put this here. Oh, what? Okay, so that was it. Was what that was appending that was creating an instance variable of the item size and the object itself. So now that won't be happening. So now I'm not sure why that was there. Who put that there? Who did that? One of you guys? Okay. All right. Now we need to delete those print statements. So now actually if I print this, run this, I should get the item size. Yes, medium. Woo! Okay. So now let's go ahead and delete this, and I will instead print the all items dictionary. Right? So now if I run and print this, we get items, dress, right? In the items key, we have a list of items, which is dress, cost of good, medium. All right, and then for sale, we have So sold items. So it's right now it's only displaying 3 parameters. The first 3 parameters. Why is that? Why is it only displaying the name, the cost, and the size? Why are we not getting a number? Why are we not getting an item number or date created or a quantity? Let's see if it has one even. So right here, we print all items. We don't want to print all items. We want to access a temporary variable. Let's do temp is equal to all items, right? We're going to access the quote key, the items key. And we're going to access the first one in the list. We are going to print temp of so this is access as the first object in it. Temp of, let's do like index 5. Let's see what happens here. Index out of range. So this is the object, right? So print temp dot item size. So this should print the size again, right? No, list object has no attribute. So this is a list. So this saves. What happens if I just print temp right here? If I print temp here, I get the item. I print temp dot cost dot item name. List object has no attribute. Temp is already indexed. So we temp equals the list of items. So then we need to print temp of 1 of the first index. So that'll print me the actual object. And then dot, we want to say item size to specify further. The item size specifically. No, list object has no item size. So this, if I print temp 0 of index 0, what do I get? I get the item itself in the form of a list. So now I need to say I don't want to do this. I want to say index 0 here. So I take that item out. I print temp dot item size, like so. No, shoot, sorry guys. You're still accessing the list temp 0, 0. There we go. So I access the first item in the list in items key, and then I access the first element in that list. So that prints medium here. So now if I print, what is another associated quantity? Date created. Right, if I run that, we get 1130. Okay. Now items. What was being displayed before? The number wasn't being displayed before. So dot item number. 1. Okay. So if I just print the temp object itself, right, you only get these 3 item values back. Anthony Ham, thank you so much for your help. I appreciate that. So why exactly did I have, so I had my all items dictionary. I accessed the items, which this right itself is a list, right? I access the first item in that list, which should be my object. Why do I have to index one more further into that object? You know what I mean? If this is the dictionary, this is the key is a list. If I access the first element in that list, that should return me the object. And I print the object, I get the object back. Can you explain that, Anthony? Why do I have to have this? I get that it's necessary, right? It's to work, but why do I have to have it? What's the reasoning behind it? If I have a dictionary, and this is the key, is quote items, and it's a list, right? So this would essentially return me a list right here. Now, if I access the first element in that list, that would give me the first object or item. Now, if I access my items list is also containing lists. Okay, so oh, I'm appending a list to a list, right? I'm taking a loaded items list here, and then I am getting that list back and appending it to a list again. So how can I remove one of the list attributes? Let's go here. We set it to like blank, just like nothing or none. Right? If we set this to none and then bring this down, dot append. Okay, so we can't append a list. We just need to assign all items the key value like that. We'll assign that returned list value you can't append to a none type. Yeah, so I'm not appending to a none type. I'm going to then make the the load file be the returned list provided by the function, like so. Now I could keep the list here and then return an append 4 and append, but I think this does it right. So now if I run this, boom, we get okay, hash type list. So let's go back. Okay, we have this set up here. So now if we want to, we're returning a list. No, go back. So how can I... Should we have to do a for loop? Like for item in, you know, this? How can I, so right now, what's happening is it's all the items that are found are being returned as a list, and then what I'm doing is assigning that return value into as the value of the key. So why do I get an unhashable list? I want to copy this, bring it into here, paste here. The error message your encounter indicates that you're trying to use a list as a dictionary key, which isn't allowed because lists are mutable. Okay. Okay, I'm not trying to set this. I'm trying to set the values to this. You're wrapping the load file function in a parenthesis like that. If I remove the parentheses, do it like that, run. No, that doesn't solve it. Okay, yeah, so it's trying to use that as a key. So instead of trying to override the key, I need to set the item's value to this. How can I set the value? Is equal to, okay, equals load file, like that. Perfect. So I was trying to set the loaded file list, the files found, the items found on as the item's key value, rather than setting the key value equal to the value of the key equal to that. So now if we run this, okay, cool. We get we index into it perfectly. We print out the temp, which is the object itself at that first index, and then we print out the... So why, my question is then, Anthony, if you could answer this for me, why does when I print here the just the temporary variable for the object that's found, why does it only print out these 3 individual parameters, not all the parameters found in the object? The item object has 5 parameters, or 6 parameters, or attributes, I'm sorry. Why does this item not display all 6 attributes? But it does detect that it has additional attributes found within it. right? It has an item number attribute that's not displaying here. Why is that? Because these are set to none initially. But they're not set to none because I have value here. Does that make sense? Does that, you follow me here? Right, so if I am, why is the item, it has to do with being set to none. So by having a default value of set to none, it just doesn't display when you print the actual object itself. But what if that value has been overridden, right? See, I have um, an item number that's being displayed right here as 1, right? I have this print statement that's displaying the object's item number. So why is, that's just interesting. When printing objects, oh, do I only have that defined in my repr? Actually, let's look here. Ah, that would make sense. Okay, so in my repr, how I'm actually representing objects when I print them, I only have those 3 parameters being displayed. So let's go ahead and we can actually add in those additional parameters into the representation. So next would be item name. So we want, first I want item number. Yeah, I forgot, honestly, I had a repr too. I forgot that I put that in. Thank you so much for your help. So item number is equal to self dot item number, right? Item number, name, what else is there? Item number, name, size, quantity, cost, and created. Item number, name, item size is equal to self dot item size, right? So we have a number, name, size. Oh, we already have size down there. So number, name, size, quantity, cost. So item, this is going to be quantity. And then cost of good, and then what else? Date created. Date created equals to cost of date created. Perfect. Awesome. So now that should take care of that issue. So if I run this, ooh, oops, did not like that. Bring this back, like so. Ooh. Okay, I'll just bring all these back, I guess. Okay, and then if I wrap this text, there we go. Anthony says, by the way, since you are using a dictionary, you don't need to define the keys prior to doing, quote, items equals. You don't, since you're using a dictionary, you don't need to define the keys prior to doing the. What do you mean? Can you be a little bit more elaborate, Anthony? You don't need to define the keys prior to doing bracket quote items. So like I don't need to. So the all items dictionary can just be all items. Oh, because I'm already creating these here, right? Like so. Got you. Thank you so much for that. All right, so what he said is because I already am creating an all items dictionary right here in this run, all items is a variable and it's having a key value assigned to it as items, and then that items is having a value saved to it as load file, this function return value. So automatically all items is being referenced right here, and it's already as a dictionary. Cool. Thank you so much. So now what we can do is if we run this, we should be able. Item, no, actually, item new. Oh, it's got a spelling error. Item number. There we go. Now if we run, boom. Okay, cool. Now we get item, item number, item name, item size, quantity, cost of good, and the date created. And then we get the individual print statement of one. Sweet. Thank you so much, you guys. So we were able to successfully load in all of the tasks that are pre-existing. And then just to make sure actually that we have everything now, let's go ahead and alter that print statement to say let's do this. We want to print this here. I will, let's just say, print all items dictionary. So we'll print the entire items dictionary. And as you can see, we get in our items list, we have the one item, has all of its parameters. In the for sale item, so I need to update the repers for the other ones as well next to include the additional parameters that they have. But that is working appropriately. So we fixed that bug with those embedded list within a list going on. So we got that fixed. Cool. So I think, guys, I've been streaming for, this is 3 hours and 50 minutes. I did about 2 hours prior to this. So I've been streaming for almost 6 hours today. I started at 5:30 p.m. and it's almost 11 now. So 5.5 hours going up on 6 hours. So big long stream today, but made a lot of progress on this. We implemented this entire load file function here. So from lines 99 all the way to 221 is one entire function that we wrote today for detecting these individual assigned items, sold items, or for sale items, and sold items that are already pre-established in our files. And if they aren't, this is the first time the user is running this program, it will automatically generate the files based on the types provided. So we were able to implement that, and we were able to bug test it and appropriately detect that everything was being, scanned appropriately within this. So yeah, everything looks pretty good, you guys. I think I'm gonna call it here. If you guys would like to meet me back here tomorrow for tomorrow's stream, please follow along to the channel so we can reconnect again. Jedediah, thanks so much for the comment. I'm sorry I'm about to just log off the stream, but thanks so much for joining here on the back end, and feel free to follow along the channel so we can connect again in the future, and then join the Discord if you want to gain access to all the resources and stuff that I'm using. I have just outlined them for other beginners like myself to use, such as all the CS50P, Python Crash Course. I just have created a Discord just to kind of conglomerate all of those resources into one place for everybody. So I will see you guys tomorrow for the stream where we continue. We will start off again like we usually do, going over some more of these reinforcement problems from data structures and algorithms in Python. Today we completed problems 2.2-9 all the way to 2-15, and so we'll complete 216 to 223 tomorrow, and then move on to chapter 3, which is great progress for data structures and algorithms, and then we will shift focus back into the personal project here for the small business manager. Anyways, thanks so much for watching today, guys. This has been a long, successful stream. Again, follow along. You guys are the beating heart of the stream and make everything possible. So thanks so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace and love.